The conflict between the United States and Iran has once again become one of the most significant geopolitical crises in the world. As military operations intensify and diplomatic tensions rise, one central question continues to dominate global discussions. How will this war end? Despite ongoing military actions and strong political statements from Washington, the final objective of the conflict remains unclear to many observers, lawmakers, and international allies. Inside the Oval Office recently, a revealing moment occurred that highlights this uncertainty. After a meeting with reporters in the Rose Garden, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz asked U.S. President Donald Trump a straightforward question. How exactly did he envision the war with Iran ending? According to sources familiar with the conversation, the answer provided by the president was not entirely clear. This moment reflects the broader confusion surrounding the conflict's ultimate goals and strategy. As the U.S. military operation against Iran enters a new phase following its initial strikes, many policymakers are trying to understand what success would look like. Pentagon officials have attempted to clarify the mission during briefings with lawmakers and congressional staff. According to people who attended these briefings, the U.S. military has emphasized that its primary objective is limited and tactical, destroying Iran's ballistic missile launchers and reducing its ability to carry out attacks. This narrower focus suggests that the military operation is designed to weaken Iran's immediate offensive capabilities, rather than pursue a broader campaign aimed at regime change. However, the political messaging from the White House appears to present a more ambitious goal. President Trump has repeatedly used stronger language, including calling for the unconditional surrender of Iran's current regime. This phrase carries historical significance, as it was famously used during World War II, when Allied powers demanded the unconditional surrender of Germany and Japan. By using such language, Trump signals a far broader objective than simply degrading Iran's missile systems. This apparent disconnect between the military's limited mission and the president's expansive rhetoric has fueled widespread speculation about the true endgame of the conflict. American lawmakers from both parties have expressed concerns about the lack of a clearly defined strategy. After receiving briefings from senior administration officials, several members of Congress admitted they still did not fully understand how the president would determine that victory had been achieved or what steps would follow afterward. One issue that has particularly unsettled lawmakers is the possibility of U.S. ground troops being deployed in Iran. During recent discussions, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth reportedly refused to rule out such a scenario. Although there are currently no confirmed plans for a ground invasion, the mere possibility raises serious concerns due to the scale and complexity of such an operation. Iran is a large country with a population of over 80 million people, and any military occupation would likely require enormous resources and long-term commitment. At the same time, U.S. officials have repeatedly stated that they do not intend to engage in the kind of nation-building efforts that characterized American interventions in Iraq and Afghanistan. These past experiences left a deep imprint on U.S. foreign policy thinking. Both wars required years of military presence and billions of dollars in reconstruction efforts, and many policymakers are determined to avoid repeating those mistakes. Yet if the ultimate goal truly includes forcing the collapse of Iran's current regime, the question of what comes next becomes unavoidable. Political scientists and intelligence agencies have long warned that regime change in complex states often leads to instability rather than stability. The experience of Iraq in the early 2000s serves as a powerful example. After the fall of Saddam Hussein's government, the country entered years of conflict and political turmoil. In the case of Iran, the situation could be even more complicated. The country's political system is deeply intertwined with powerful institutions, such as the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC. These organizations hold significant influence over both the military and the economy. Removing the current leadership without a clear alternative could create a power vacuum, potentially leading to internal conflict or fragmentation. Some reports suggest that the Trump administration has considered different scenarios for Iran's political future. In certain discussions, officials have mentioned the possibility of allowing elements of the existing power structure, particularly those associated with the IRGC, to remain influential while transitioning to a different leadership model. Trump himself reportedly compared such a scenario to developments in Venezuela, suggesting that political transitions could occur more easily than critics expect. However, many experts remain skeptical of this assumption. U.S. intelligence agencies have consistently warned that predicting the outcome of regime change is extremely difficult. Even if the current leadership were removed, it is not clear who would replace them, or how a new government would maintain stability in a country with such complex political dynamics. The uncertainty surrounding the conflict has also created anxiety among America's international partners. European and Middle Eastern officials have privately admitted that they are unsure what the United States ultimately hopes to achieve. In conversations with their American counterparts, diplomats have said they have not received a clear explanation of the long-term strategy or the conditions that would bring the war to an end. Another major factor complicating the situation is the possibility of negotiations. According to sources familiar with intelligence communications, Iran has quietly signaled that it may be open to discussions about ending the conflict. These messages were reportedly sent through indirect channels, suggesting that Iranian officials might be looking for a diplomatic path to de-escalation. Despite these signals, U.S. officials say that no formal negotiations are currently underway. Members of the administration have stated that the conflict is currently a military operation and that it must run its course. In other words, Washington appears determined to continue its military strategy before considering any diplomatic off-ramps. Meanwhile, the United States claims that its military campaign has already achieved significant results. According to General Dan Kane, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Iranian missile launches have dropped dramatically since the start of the operation. He reported that ballistic missile launches have fallen by approximately 86%, while one-way attack drone launches have decreased by around 73%. These figures suggest that U.S. strikes on Iranian command and control centers and missile infrastructure have been highly effective. By targeting these systems early in the campaign, the U.S. military may have significantly limited Iran's ability to coordinate large-scale attacks. However, military success does not necessarily translate into strategic victory. Even if Iran's missile capabilities are temporarily weakened, the broader conflict could continue if political tensions remain unresolved.